This podcast is a work of historical interpretation. While we strive for accuracy, some aspects of history are open to interpretation and debate. Thank you for listening. So easy. I have so many tabs open right now. It's crazy.
Tab?
I have so many tabs open.
Oh, I thought you were offering me a drink.
Oh, no. Sorry.
Yeah, I know because you
failed this year. I mean, this week.
And this year.
What? No.
And this month so far.
Oh, ha, 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 ha. See if I ever offer you a drink ever again. Anyways, are you ready?
Yeah, we've been running.
Oh, crap. Why don't you tell me?
Because that gave me all this fun stuff. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Yep.
Okay. Welcome to Time Tellers, the podcast that explores the fascinating stories and historical events that have shaped the United States. I'm your host, Renee, and this is Dan. And today we're delving into a pivotal moment in American history when the Founding Fathers, with their visionary leadership, gathered to write the Constitution at the Second Constitutional Convention. However, first, I would like to correct a personal narrative from last week. My sister, who is smarter than me, yes, I said it, informed me that there is no way I remembered the Great Blue Whale being at the Wright-Patt Air Force Base, as it is at the National History Museum in D.C. I also reached out to a friend that I went to high school with whose mom worked on the base, and he also confirmed with me that I was incorrect. So, it was the Natural History Museum, which is a museum our parents did take us to.
Are you sure it wasn't the Natural History Museum in New York or the British Museum in London?
No, it was D.C.
Just
I'm
checking.
Pretty sure. So, I'm not sure why I had convinced myself that a giant whale would be at the Air Force Museum, but, childhood memories are strange. So, but anyways, I just combined some museum experiences. It's okay. Anyways, just wanted to put that out there. We are talking about the Constitution rather than the Declaration of Independence today. These are two separate documents. Sometimes people get them confused or mixed up. Okay, a quick review of the Declaration of Independence before discussing the Constitution. The Declaration of Independence, adopted on July 4th, 1776, marked the American colonies' formal separation from Great Britain. It outlined the philosophical justifications for independence, emphasizing natural rights and the idea that all men are created equal. Sort of. It listed grievances against King George III, accusing him of tyranny and injustices that violated the colony's rights. The Constitutional Convention, where the Constitution was drafted, happened after we won the Revolutionary War. Just throwing that out there. It can be confusing. It was a long time ago. It's okay.
It was?
Yes. After the American Revolution, the United States was governed by the Articles of Confederation, which created a loose alliance of states with a weak central government. This system quickly proved inadequate, leading to economic turmoil and political instability. So this was even during the war. That's what we're operating under, government-wise. For example, the Articles of Confederation did not allow Congress to tax independently. This limitation led to numerous problems, particularly in financing the government and paying off war debts. Because wars cost money.
Really?
Yeah. They are not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, billion-dollar airplanes and...
Well, they didn't have those in the Revolutionary War.
Oh, yeah.
No airports in the Revolutionary War.
If only the Renaissance would have happened earlier and the Dark Ages would have never happened.
But alas, here we are.
Yep.
In 1787, it became clear that a stronger federal government was necessary. Representative from 12 of the 13 states. Guess which one did not send a representative?
PA.
Nope, we did.
Ohio.
Ohio is not part of the 13 colonies.
Oh, yeah.
That was Western Territory. Rhode Island is the correct answer. Rhode Island did not send anyone.
Why not?
That's a good question. I don't know.
You should know that answer.
I should know that answer.
Because you knew I was going to ask that.
No, I did not know.
That's why I just randomly started naming states.
Well, anyways, 12 out of the 13 states convened in Philadelphia for
colonies.
What is... No, in 1787.
Oh, I thought you were still 17.
States.
I thought we were still 1776.
No, we were states at this.
Oh.
We had already won that independence.
But weren't we a commonwealth, not a state? What's that look for?
Moving on. So, now I'm confused. Now you threw me off.
Well, you were talking about states, and I was just talking about commonwealths.
Commonwealth of Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the city of Philadelphia. For what is now known as the Second Constitutional Convention. The initial goal was to amend the Articles of Confederation, but it soon became apparent that a complete overhaul was needed, so throw it out. Like they threw out the tea.
Poor tea.
The convention brought together some of the most brilliant minds of the time, including George Washington, who reluctantly presided over the meetings. He actually had to be convinced he wanted to retire and just stay at Mount Vernon. And James Madison, who would later be known as the father of the Constitution, Alexander Hamilton, John Jay, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin were notable attendees.
Alexander Hamilton?
Alexander Hamilton, yes.
What's his name again?
Alexander Hamilton. Oh, gosh. Don't make me try and sing. This could be bad. Great musical, though. Deliberations were conducted in strict secrecy to encourage open debate and prevent outside pressures. Windows were kept shut and guards were posted. This also took place during the summer without, central air.
Yeah, but they were used to it. They didn't know what they were missing.
True, but they also wore wigs, I think. That was the style.
Yeah.
At least some of them would have. The delegates faced numerous challenges and debates. They grappled with issues such as representation, the balance of power between the federal and state governments, and the contentious matter of slavery. Many decisions were made by narrow margins, reflecting the controversial nature of the debates. For example, including a single executive, the president, was hotly contested. They didn't want one. The framers were keenly aware of the negative association with monarchy-like titles such as king or emperor, which were associated with the authoritarian rule they had fought against during the Revolutionary War. They wanted a title that reflected the Republican values of the new nation. Not Republican like the political party today. Republican as in we are a democratic republic.
I'm not saying anything.
Nothing to say, just clarifying that. During the Constitutional Convention, various titles were proposed for the chief executive, including governor, commander-in-chief, and even more elaborate titles like His Excellency, which we do still use the commander-in-chief title, especially when referring to military. However, these titles were considered too grandiose or reminiscent of monarchy-like traditions. The title president was ultimately chosen for its simplicity and functionality. The title president appropriately conveyed the idea of someone who would preside over the execution of laws and government administration rather than ruling with absolute authority. Madison's Virginia plan suggested a strong central government with a bicameral legislature, while the New Jersey plan favored a unicameral legislature with equal representation for each state. Now, trivia question. What does bicameral mean?
I don't know. You tell me.
Do you really not know? Or you just don't want to say?
Two houses.
Two houses, yes. Spy means two.
I was trying to play along.
No, you're great. And uni means one. So we have two houses or one house. That was what they were arguing over. The Great Compromise, brokered by Roger Sherman, resolved the deadlock by establishing a bicameral Congress with proportional representation in the House of Representatives and equal representation in the Senate. The Great Compromise is why each state sends 2 senators to the nation capital after they're elected, while the size of their population determines how many members in the House of Representatives their state could send. The 3/5 Compromise was an agreement made during the 1787 Constitutional Convention about how enslaved people would be counted for representation and taxation. Southern states wanted to count all enslaved people to increase their political power, while northern states disagreed. The compromise decided that each enslaved person would be counted as 3/5 of a person. This decision significantly affected the balance of power between the North and the South in the United States' early years. and is a pretty disgusting bit of American history.
Just a little bit.
Yes. I mean, the enslaved part on its own, and then, they're not even a full person.
Yeah.
What? But this was 1787. Not that makes it okay.
No.
We can't ignore the bad parts of history, too, just because we want to. With the new government structure taking shape, the delegates turned their attention to other critical issues, including the executive and judicial branches, the powers of the federal government, and the protection of individual rights, as long as you were deemed a citizen. The framers were heavily influenced by classical antiquity and Enlightenment thinkers, incorporating ideas of checks and balances, separation of powers, and popular sovereignty. The delegates' work culminated in drafting the Constitution, a document designed to provide a framework for a balanced and flexible government. The preamble, famously beginning with "We the People," set the tone for a government established by and for its citizens. The Constitution also included provisions for its amendment, which is changes. This allowed for future adjustments as the nation evolved.
You mean you can change amendments?
Yes, there's a whole process.
Oh, really?
It takes forever because the government is slow, but it's there.
Oh, yeah. I remember they did the Simpsons episode on that with a song and everything.
Well, if the Simpsons did it, it must be true.
Yeah, especially when they have a song about it.
Right. I mean, they are very good at predicting the future.
Yeah, I can think of a few things they predicted that haven't came true yet.
And I can think of a couple that did come true.
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson had distinct views about the need for periodically revisiting and potentially amending the U.S. Constitution. He believed that each generation should be able to update the Constitution to reflect contemporary needs and values. This adaptability ensures that the Constitution remains relevant and effective in governing a dynamic and growing nation. On September 17th, 1787, 39 of the 55 delegates signed the Constitution's final draft. However, the work was ongoing, as at least 9 states still needed to ratify the document, or agree to uphold the document. Because remember, we're only dealing with 13 states at this point.
Yeah. Well, 12 states in a Commonwealth?
Yes, I have been corrected.
Yeah, I know. Did it hurt?
A little bit, actually. Tiny bit.
Sorry for correcting you. I'll just let you use fake news.
Oh, no. That is not good. So let's talk about the ratification process. The ratification process sparked intense debate across the states and Commonwealth, dividing Americans into Federalists who supported the Constitution and Anti-Federalists who opposed it. Which one was Alexander Hamilton?
Federalist?
Yes, because him, James Madison, and John Jay wrote a series of essays called the Federalist Papers. Not the Anti-Federalists, the Federalists.
Oh.
With their compelling arguments, these essays articulated the need for a strong central government and addressed concerns about the potential for tyranny. Federalist Number 10, written by Madison, is particularly famous for its argument favoring a large republic to guard against factionalism. Despite the fierce opposition, the Federalists secured the necessary support. On June 21st, 1788, New Hampshire became... Is it Hampshire or Hampshire? New Hampshire. New Hampshire.
Hampshire, but I'm sure it was originally Hampshire.
Okay. New Hampshire became the 9th state to ratify the Constitution, ensuring its adoption. And today, we still have it.
Yay.
With modification, called amendments. So, the Bill of Rights. One major concession during the ratification process was a promise to add a Bill of Rights to the Constitution. The Bill of Rights would address anti-federalist concerns about the protecting of individual liberties. James Madison drafted the first 10 amendments, also known as the Bill of Rights. These amendments guaranteed fundamental rights such as the freedom of speech, religion, and the press, protections against unreasonable search and seizures, and the right to a fair trial. The First Amendment to the United States Constitution is a fundamental component of the Bill of Rights. First, freedom of religion. It prohibits Congress from establishing a national religion.
You mean
Called-
there isn't a national religion?
No, there is not.
I
And
thought-
there can't be, thanks to Amendment
But
number
why
1.
do so many people think there is?
It might be why we're doing this podcast, or this episode at least, to shed some light on it, to add some clarity to the
I
situation.
mean, there's other opinions and other ways of thinking?
Yes, and those are totally correct, as long as they are the way I'm thinking. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. So this is known as the Establishment Clause and protects individual rights to practice their religion freely. The Free Exercise Clause. Number 2, freedom of speech. It ensures that individuals have the right to express their opinions and ideas without government interference or regulation. Not private companies, government. The government can't come in and say, shush it. Private companies, like various platforms, can.
Correct.
Freedom of the press. It allows the press to publish news, information, and opinions without government censorship. Freedom of assembly. It guarantees the rights of people to gather peacefully for protests, demonstrations, and other forms of collective expression. However, there's definitely been modifications where you have to, get a permit. It depends on the city and the state and everything. But
And location.
Yeah.
And stuff.
there are some rules and loopholes and guidelines and red tape you have to go through. Freedom to petition the government. It ensures that individuals can make their grievances known to the government and request changes of action without fear or punishment. So that was just the First Amendment. It's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
Of course, we have the Second, which protects the right to own and carry weapons, or specifically states arms, to bear arms. I have an arm.
And
It's not a bear, though. Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm wearing a tank top. Now, that was funny. No. Third Amendment. It prevents soldiers from being housed in private homes without permission. This is not really something we see happen so much anymore, but it was a big deal during the Revolutionary War because the British would just house soldiers anywhere. Fourth Amendment. It protects against the unreasonable search and seizure and requires warrants for searches. And that has definitely been expanded throughout our history. Like, think of the Miranda rights.
Yeah.
Fifth Amendment ensures due process, protects against double jeopardy and self-incrimination, and requires fair compensation for property taken for public use. Eminent domain, right? Where they can take your property, but they have to pay you for it.
Yeah.
We always hear that I plead the fifth.
Why this time?
I always plead the fifth. It's just safe. I'm just kidding.
Isn't that admitting guilt?
But that's why you don't have to testify in a criminal trial. Like, the defendant, they don't have to go on the stand unless they want to. Sixth Amendment. It guarantees a speedy and public trial, the right to a lawyer, and the right to confront witnesses. Although not in the street. Like, you can't just go out and start yelling at me.
Why not?
I don't know. Probably be bad. Wouldn't look good.
What if you had a permit?
A lot of the times, they'll waive the speedy trial, too. Just because they don't want to get it up and over with, because that could be bad. But you are given that right. They can't just hold you indefinitely.
Okay.
Seventh, guarantees the right to a jury trial in civil cases involving more than $20. I thought that was interesting. $20 back then would have been... Ooh, we should look that up. You look that up for me. See what $20 is now. We're talking 1787. What is it now? Any guesses?
Probably like 200, maybe 500.
Oh, I think it's going to be more than that. I'm going with 1,000. Ish.
Let's see.
You'll see how bad my
$675.
Okay.
So I
You
was
win.
closer.
Yes, and you didn't go over. So $675?
So what do I win?
Good job. Thumbs up.
I did not want a participation medal.
Ninth Amendment states that people have the right beyond those listed in the Constitution. And 10th says that the powers not given to the federal government belong to the states or the people. Yeah, that's a lot of what's going on in today's world.
Yeah.
With 9th and 10th right there. The Bill of Rights was ratified on December 15th, 1791, solidifying the Constitution as the supreme law of the land and addressing the initial concerns raised during the ratification debates. So the convention is often referred to as the Miracle at Philadelphia, although I have never actually heard it called that. Have you?
No.
No. But I could see why. Due to the unlikely consensus reached among the delegates' diverse and frequently conflicting interest. The Second Constitutional Convention and the writing of the Constitution were monumental events in American history, laying the foundation for a government that continues to evolve and adapt to this day. Thank you for joining us to explore the past. Be sure to tune in next time on Time Tellers, a series that uncovers more stories that have shaped our nation from the Revolutionary War to the Civil Rights Movement. Until then, keep learning, keep reading, and stay curious. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram with Time Tellers Podcast. Facebook, we have a page called Time Tellers Podcast. So getting very original. There is a website. Is it live?
Yeah.
It's live. It's just very limited. TimeTellersHistory.com. There is a Gmail if anybody wants to email us at timetellerspodcast@gmail.com. Yes, we do. And I will get those.
So will I.
Yeah. So will you. So, and of course I have a TikTok, Time Tellers 4, I believe. I don't know why, but it's the same picture as all the other social media icons are. So check those out. And please don't forget to follow us wherever you're listening. Rate and review us would be awesome. Thank you so much. This podcast is a work of historical interpretation. While we strive for accuracy, some aspects of history are open to interpretation and debate. Thank you for listening.